What I'm about to share with you would help you generate £20,000 from property you don't even own. Hey guys, my name is Rahim. Welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, smash the subscribe button because I talk about property investment, personal development, and how to gain financial freedom. In today's video, I'm going to share with you how I was able to take a small house that I do not own and make £20,000. Before we get going, I'd like to thank everybody for joining our family. The family is growing immensely. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. I appreciate you so much. There's a little favor I would like to ask to the people that have not subscribed to the channel. We've done a research, we've realized 45% of the people that have been watching our videos have not hit that subscribe button. If you're one of those, I kindly ask you to hit that subscribe button. Hit it now, don't wait, do it now, do it now. Don't wait until you watch this video, do it now. Thank you so much for doing that. I really appreciate you. I'll give you a promise. I will ensure I give you valuable, actionable content in my YouTube channel, and we are in the process of interviewing people that are in every walk of entrepreneurial life to help inspire you, motivate you, and give you action points to take your finances a little bit closer to where you want it to be. So thank you for being here. So how was I able to make £20,000 from a property I don't even own? If you really want to know what that is, this video is for you. Let's get to it. Before we get there, I'm going to talk to you about what type of property it was, what was the rent and deposit I was paying to the landlord, and the income I was making from both strategies that allowed me to make £20,000. So let's get to the first thing first. How did I come across this landlord, and how was I able to secure properties like this? You see, in order for you to be able to secure properties like this, you need to be in the right place, the right location, and know what to say. So for me, obviously, what I did, I went to a platform called Com3. So this platform is a platform where people sell stuff, people advertise stuff, including properties as well. So I saw this property. It's a property that hasn't got any photos online, and I was really reluctant actually to look at the property. So I looked at the property, I saw it advertised as 4-bedroom house, 1 reception room, and all that sort of thing. So I decided to approach the landlord, and I contacted the landlord, and then I booked to go and see the property. This property is a mid-terrace house. As you approach the property, it's in a very close, actually before you approach the property itself, you go to the city center, and the property is literally about maybe a minute away from the city center. So you approach the property, you go through a little hill, and then the property is somewhere in the middle of that hill. As you turn around, you can see the property like that. It's got this nice, amazing bay window. You walk inside, you've got the reception room on your right, and you walk straight in. You've got another bedroom, 1 bedroom on your left-hand side. That becomes the ground floor bedroom. As you walk past that bedroom, there's a kitchen, and then behind that kitchen also you've got the bathroom. So you walk upstairs, you've got the 3 rooms upstairs. So it's a kind of a nice, good property. Okay, well, it was a nice, good property. So, and also this property was a very, very good property because it was located to a prime location. It was very close to city center, very close to all these retailers, as well as a university was literally next door to the property. Okay, so that's how I discovered the properties. And then as I was looking at the property, I was speaking to the landlord to understand why. One, there's no photos on the property because the property looks amazing. And secondly, to understand why the landlord was renting the property themselves directly. So I worked out what the pain point that the landlord was. One, the landlord was so busy, they didn't have time even to take photos to advertise the property. Secondly, he has secondary business that he deals with. So property is kind of a side business for him. And also he looks after his mother as well. So he doesn't have time to actually look after that property. So looking at the property is a very good property, but it needed a bit of love due to the landlord not having time to show love to that property. So what I then do basically, I tell the landlord, look, I'm interested in this property and I can rent it out from you on a guaranteed rent basis. So you don't have to worry about the property being vacant or having voids or having to manage the property yourself. So the landlord was a bit skeptical about it, obviously, because it was kind of a bit too good to be true. Someone taking on your property, guaranteeing you the rent, and you don't have to worry about anything else. It wasn't something that he believed. So obviously I persuaded him, said, look, if I take on the property, you don't have to be worrying about looking after it. You can go look after your mother. And most importantly, you can concentrate in running your other businesses. And then obviously I told him I've rented a property down the road. I bring that reassurance to him. Okay, so I was able to convince him to understand what I wanted to do in the property, but he was a bit skeptical about the type of people that is going to be living in the property. And obviously I told him the type of people that will be living in the property. I told him it's working professionals, they'll be looking after the property. And actually, if anything get wrong to the property, with the property, he can contact me and I am liable for whatever damages that are caused to the property. So it was kind of a bit okay then. So once we've done that, he understands my concept. The next thing now is to talk about rent, okay? So I spoke to him, I asked him how much he wanted for the property. And obviously he wanted about, I think, £850 for the property. I understand where he was coming from. First thing I understand that I acknowledge that £800 is a good price. And then ask him if I was to take the property on a guaranteed rent basis, how much does he reckon he may be able to give it to me? Because obviously the property has been vacant for multiple of months now, and none of these rooms have been rented. And then if I'm taking on the property, I'm guaranteeing that rent, whether I rent the property or not. So what sort of best price he may be able to give me for his property? So he was like, look, I'm not going to budge on the price. The price, it is what it is. So you have to pay that price. I'm thinking, okay, is there any way? So literally, and then I tried to convince him saying, look, I'm going to take on the property. I'm going to look after it. You can come and visit it. You're going to be looking amazing. So, and then I said, is there any movement on the price? Okay. So he looked at me and said, you know what? I like you. That's what he said to me. It's like, okay, you know what? I can do it for £750. I said, okay, £750 is a good price actually. But then I said, is it okay for me to pay £600? The reason why I'm paying £600 is because one, I'm taking the repair and maintenance, I'm taking the risk for not renting the property, and I'll be managing it. As you can see, it's a bit of job for you to do things like that. And then obviously whatever I pay you then will be kind of a net profit because you're not going to be paying any management fees, any repairs, and I'm taking all that burden away. So I believe £600 will be a fair price for me, and I'm fair price for me and you, because obviously I'm taking it on a long-term basis as well. He wasn't having any of it, okay? He was like, no, I'm not going to take it £600. I'm not going to take it £600. And then it becomes a negotiation, basically. So to fast forward the story, so I was able to close him at £650. £650, that's how much I was able to close him by. It was a brilliant property, brilliant, beautiful. All the rooms there are double rooms. So once I've agreed with him at that price, then obviously he said he needs a 1 month rent and a 1 month deposit. That then gives me a total entry cost of £1,300. Obviously £650 rent and £650 deposit. That then gives me the £1,300. So once I've get him to understand that concept, and then I tell him, look, I love your property, obviously. It looks like an amazing property, but it needs a bit of love, okay? I need to paint and decorate it. Obviously, I need to refurnish the property as well. I asked him, is it okay for me to have a couple of weeks to get the property ready for rental? Now, before I said couple of weeks, I've already asked for 4 weeks. In essence, if you want 2 weeks, you ask for 4 weeks, okay? So then we negotiate, we agree on 2 weeks. So that 2 weeks then allows me to go in, paint and decorate the property, furnish the property, get it ready for renting out. So when I looked at the area, I did a few things. So the first thing I looked at is to analyze the deal, to understand what sort of strategy I may be able to implement there. So because the property was very close to the university, very close to city center, so I was exposed to 2 exit strategy. I can either rent it to student, or I can rent it to working professionals. Obviously, I like my working professionals. They are one of my biggest market. So what I did then, basically, I decided to rent the property to working professionals. 2 reasons I decided for it. 1, professionals will look after your property, and secondly, they are working people. So in essence, you're able to charge a little bit more. So with that property, then I was able to rent each bedroom for £390. So I've got 4 bedrooms, so I was able to rent the whole house within a week, and that house was generating £1,650, and that was my gross rental income. And obviously I've agreed to pay the landlord the rent, and the rent to the landlord was £650. Because the property will be a house in multiple occupation, HMO house, I will be renting the property room by room basis, I am liable to pay for the bills. So looking at the property, my bills would be about £350. To pay for electricity, gas, and any other stuff that comes with the property. That then gives me a net profit of £560, which was an amazing profit for a property that I don't even own. So in essence, that property was generating me £560 every single month. That was a whopping £6,720 a year in a property I don't even own. That was amazing return on my investment. For £650, I'm making that sort of money a year. So that was really good. And then again, I'm adding value here, right? I took a dead property. Obviously, it cost me money to set the property. It cost me about £3,000 to £4,000 to set the property up nicely. And one, I've helped a landlord who could not rent the property out because of their pain point. And I'm providing accommodation to people who needs it, whilst I'm making massive return on my investment. So that's the first sort of money I was making from that property. I loved it. I was like, whoa, this is amazing. I'm gonna go again. And then I realized, oh, there's more I could make from this property. What could be another strategy I can use on this property to make more money for the same amount of investment? So obviously, because the property was in a very good location, very close to city center, very close to commercial units, people, supermarkets, banks, places like that, and very close to the university, I realized I could do another strategy in that property. What was the strategy? The strategy is what we call serviced accommodation. So what is serviced accommodation? Serviced accommodation is the process by which an investor would take a property, either you buy it or rent it. Instead of renting it out to normal tenants, you rent it per night. So what is that basically? It's like a hotel. You rent it per night on a nightly basis to people that are coming into the area. Now, why do you do things like that? You do things like that because it makes you better return on your investment. Obviously, because people are paying you per night. But you have to be doing all the due diligence, which I conducted. I realized, actually, I could be making more money from this property. So what I then did basically, I sat my figures, looked at my figures, I looked at all my golden rules, understand that these golden rules are perfect. I have not literally missed anything. I then moved that property from making it as a HMO house to renting it as a serviced accommodation, as an Airbnb. That's what most people know. So what I then did basically, I gave the tenants notice to vacate the property. And then what I did then is I go and upgraded the property. Obviously, if you're doing serviced accommodation, you need to kind of upgrade it a little bit so that it looks nice and fresh. Now, why did I change it to serviced accommodation? I've mentioned key things already because it's very close to city center. But one of the key reasons why I decided to change it to serviced accommodation is because there were not lots of serviced accommodation in that area. There were not lots of serviced accommodation in that area. But here's the most important thing why I decided to do it. It's because it was close to university, and there are lecturers, international people coming on a regular basis to visit the university. Plus, you've got these employers around the property that may have consultants, contractors coming around, and less competition. And I wasn't inside to all this crazy, busy competition, killing yourself about price. That's what literally triggers me to do that. In essence, I'm moving from £560 a month to doing the serviced accommodation, okay? So I set the property up nicely. I have my beddings, my towels, everything needed as if it's a mini boutique hotel. So I put that property up. That property, when I put that property up, once it started going, the property started generating me £3,000 per calendar month in average, okay? That's how much it was generating me. So looking at that £3,000 a month, I moved my gross rental income from £1,560 to £3,000, nearly double the rental income, okay? And then obviously the rent to the landlord, as you know, is exactly the same, which is £650. I minus that, and obviously got my bills. Because you're doing a serviced accommodation, the bills tend to be a bit more because one, you're gonna be changing the beddings, the towels, and all that sort of thing in the property for the next guest that's gonna show up. So obviously my bill went up to £700. So I was making £3,000, okay, minus the 650 and minus the £700. That property in average was generating me £1,650 per calendar month when it's all averaged out. So if you times that by 12 months, you're talking about £19,800. You may be thinking, oh, 19,000, you said 20,000. Well, 19,800 is not far from 20,000, okay? If you only missed that by £200, that is not gonna end the world. So that property that took me about maybe a couple of weeks to close was able to generate me, in the beginning, £6,720 a year. And when I know what I was doing, when I took advantage of that strategy, service accommodation strategy, it racked that up to £19,800. These are the two strategies I use to take me from that amount of money to £19,800. You may be thinking, whoa, how easy it is to get properties like this. So there are properties out there. Here's the thing. One of the only way you can get properties like this is by going out there, looking for it, and most importantly, educating yourself to understand how you could acquire properties like this, how you can communicate with landlords to convince them to get properties like this. So I advise you to educate yourself, get someone to mentor you, coach. If that happens to be me, there's a link on this video you can click to book one of my specialists to see if there's any synergies there to work with you to help you get your investment going, to help you get you a little closer to your financial freedom figures, or perhaps to make a bit of extra money to help you with your expenses. Let me tell you about the advantages and disadvantages of using these two strategies. The first advantage of using the HMO strategy, which is renting the property room by room basis, is basically you can rent the property out knowing that once it's rented, you're making £560 every single month. That gives you steady, recurring income. You don't have to worry about anything else. Hopefully you got the right tenants in the property. So basically you don't have that problem, okay, about not having money to pay your landlord. So it gives you that security basically. It's like having a buy-to-let property, so you don't have to worry about not getting paid. That's one of the biggest advantage. And another advantage also when you're doing HMO is like, you know, the setup cost, the furnitures you buy and all that sort of thing. It's not that expensive because you only need a bed and a mattress, then you're good to go, okay? Then you are good to go. Versus service accommodation, you have to set it up very, very nice. You have to have beddings, you have to have towels, you have to have duvets, you have to have multiple of those things as well to ensure that when someone checks out, there's spare beddings, towels for the next guest. So that gives you a bit of an additional investment to put in there. And then obviously with service accommodation, your rental income fluctuates, okay? Whereas for HMO, it doesn't fluctuate. Your 560 comes in every single month without any issue. But when it comes to service accommodation, this month you can make £2,000, the other month you make £1,000, the other month you make about £4,000 or £5,000 or £6,000. And basically it fluctuates. Another month you may even be making £500, okay? So it fluctuates, that's the differences, okay? That's the main distinct differences. And then obviously with service accommodation, it's like a hospitality business because you've got people going in and out of your property. You want to be ensuring that the property is ready for the next guest. And versus HMO, you don't have to worry about any of that. Okay, another advantage of having serviced accommodation is that the repair and maintenance is not as much because what happens is basically is that people are not consistently living in the property. Whereas for HMO, your tenant will be living in the property consistently and you'd have to do some maintenance and repairs works as well, okay? And again, for serviced accommodation, even there's a damage or repairs work, if that's done by the guest, they pay that money to you instantly as a damage deposit. So once that money is paid into your account, they check out, there is a damage, you can claim that money straight away. And the beauty about serviced accommodation is that you know what the problem of the property as soon as the guest checks out. So in essence, if problem goes wrong, you can go and fix it straight away. Whereas when it comes to HMO, sometimes the tenants are reluctant, the other person is waiting for the other person to complain, and the other person is waiting for the next person to complain, and it becomes never got reported, and they end up reporting it when it's gone worse and worse and worse, and then obviously it costs you more money down the line. Versus serviced accommodation, you get the problem known straight away, and in most cases, you don't pay for the repairs. The guest that have damaged the property pays for the repairs. So these are the distinct identity. But if you look at it in totality, serviced accommodation makes you a lot more money than HMO, depending on the size and location of that property. Because service accommodation is renting the property per night, and it gives you higher rate, and it gives you higher rental income. Whereas HMO, it doesn't give you higher rental income, but it gives you the security knowing that you're making £6,720 every single month. But when you put all the figures together a year, service accommodation tend to make you £19,800 plus, and then obviously HMO tend to make you £6,720. You may be asking, what strategy should I go for? I'm so confused now, Rahim. What do I go for? Here is what you're going to go for. One, you need to understand what your financial objectives are, what your investment objectives are. Why are you into properties in the first place? Are you there to make quick cash so you can start buying your property investment? Or are you there to make steady recurring income to ensure that you're able to look after your property? Okay? Or you're able to pay your landlords when their rent is due. You need to know how risky, what are the risks that are involved here. Okay, if you're one of those that look, you like to be secure and safe, maybe HMO, it is your route. Okay, just so that I forgot to mention, with HMO, you're managing 4 tenants as well, because a 4-bedroom, each tenant is independent to the other tenant, so you're managing those tenants as well. But if you like to have your steady recurring income, perhaps HMO is for you. But if you're one of those who like to take risk, knowing that you're going to make more money at the end of it, maybe service accommodation is for you. So think about your investment objective, and knowing that from both strategies, if you're saving your rental income or you're saving your profit, even if it fluctuates, suppose you're doing service accommodation, your entry cost is not high. You're paying the landlord £650 plus bills, so it's not as much, okay? So you can kind of work out how much money you need to have in your lockers just in case you are not able to rent the property out. We have a rule of thumb, we need to have at least 3 to 4 months rent buffer for our serviced accommodation properties for the time when there are fluctuation or from the time where it is an off-peak. So that then gives us enough money to look after our properties when there are not that much income coming in. But if you're doing a HMO property, you don't have to worry about that because your money is coming in every single month. You may be thinking, what strategy should I choose? For me personally, I would choose rent to service accommodation. I'll give you a reason why. The reason why I chose rent to service accommodation is because one, I like to take calculated risk, and secondly, by the end of the year, it makes me more money. Okay, it makes me more money than the HMO route, and plus, I'm not going to be managing tenants. Okay, if it's a HMO, I've got 4 tenants to manage. Okay. They will be ringing me with their own individual problems. And obviously with a guest, when the guests are in, they've done what they're supposed to do, they're out. Literally, the only time you're going to be a bit busy, maybe it's when they're checking in and out to make sure they're all in and out. And if you've got a management agent, they can do that for you as well. So in essence, literally, it takes you minimum time required to look after your serviced accommodation property versus HMO properties, because you got your repair and maintenance, you got tenant calling, complaining, and perhaps sometimes one of them will turn up and say, oh, I get sacked, I haven't got money to pay your rent. You might not get your rent for one of the bedrooms, and then that then gives you a massive gap when it comes to paying your landlord. So in essence, both strategies are good. Both strategies are good, but if you're a risky person, calculated risk, service accommodation is for you. If you don't want to take the risk, you want to save secure income, HMO is for it. I've done both strategies, but I did not do them both at the same time. I did rent to rent first, rent to HMO. Once I start having steady recurring income, and then obviously I moved to serviced accommodation, which then I know then will fluctuate, will look after the property. But if I was starting today and I have buffer of 3 to 4 month rent to look after the serviced accommodation property, I'll go for the serviced accommodation property because obviously it gives me better return on my investment. Here is what I want you to know. If you made that decision to get your finances a little bit closer to financial freedom, or if you made that decision to take your finances into your own hands, there's no reason you cannot achieve success in property, because it's one of the industries that would allow you to start with little to none of your own money. I really hope this video has been helpful. If it has helpful, don't forget to hit the like button below, subscribe to my channel for more amazing videos. I look forward to sharing the next one. Thank you. God bless you.